So on this episode of, the segment of Notes and Bolts, I want to talk to something that most people don't realize. And this was one that was like, ooh, for me. And it's on land contracts. And this is in the state of Iowa. And I learned this actually from, wasn't an attorney, it was actually from Allied Servicing. So this is Iowa Legal Doc 558.46. Every real estate installment sales contract transferring an interest in residential property shall be recorded by the seller with the county recorder in the county in which the real estate is situated, not later than 90 days from the date the contract was signed by the contract seller and contract purchaser. So what's that say? You've got 90 days when you sign a land contract to get that recorded. The second line says, number 2, failure to record a real estate contract required to be recorded by the section by a contract seller within the specified time limit is punishable by a fine not to exceed $100 per day for each violation. The county recorder shall record a real estate contract presented for recording, even though not presented within 90 days of the signing of the contract. The recorder shall forward to the county attorney a copy of contract recorded more than 90 days from the date a contract was signed by the seller and purchaser. The county attorney shall initiate action in the district to enforce the provisions of this section. Fines collected pursuant to this subsection shall be deposited in the general fund of the county. So if you record a land contract in Iowa after 90 days, it gets sent to the attorney and they're going to come back after you. So it gets better. Failure to timely record shall not invalidate an otherwise valid real estate contract. However, okay, because you're probably thinking right now, big deal, I just will never record it. But if the borrower defaults, item 3 says, however, a contract seller is prohibited from initiating forfeiture proceedings on the basis of a failure to comply with the terms of the contract if the contract has not been recorded. Wow. So how many people out there have Iowa land contracts right now? I hope you don't have non-performing ones. So this was something, fortunately for me, I've had several in Iowa. I had one that was not recorded actually. And what we did was I converted the borrower to a note. So I didn't have to record the land contract. We just canceled it and issued the person on the new mortgage and note. But I've heard typically in these instances, it's, they don't charge $100, they charge, $5 to $10 a day. But, if you've got one that was 3-4 years ago, that's 1,000 days. Think of the penalty you could be charged. So there was one on PaperStack actually that I was looking at. And that was the first question I asked the borrower, the seller, is this recorded? They're like, yes. I'm like, whew, okay. Then I'm interested. But definitely something a lot of people probably aren't aware of, in these states. And I'll be honest with you, attorneys didn't tell me this. And I've had attorneys review collateral. So I find it interesting. Maybe they're not collecting on it, but the way this reads is, hey, when it gets recorded, if it's more than 90 days, we're just going to send it to the attorney's office. So very interested, curious to see, how this, has anyone ever been burnt by this? Are there other states like this that people have had issues on land contracts? I know Maryland, which is another topic for another day, has some real quirky laws in regards to land contracts, but curious also, get input from you guys. What are some of the real strange, quirky laws you've seen, you've heard about that can impact, not impact the note, but impact, fines and fees for, not doing something. So want to share that with everyone. Also want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Good Deeds Note Investing podcast. As always, if you have comments, please leave them in the show notes or below. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and join the Facebook group, the Notes and Bolts from the Good Deeds Note Investing podcast on Facebook. I think people get a lot of value from that. And just want to continue to try and assist you and answer your questions in regards to trying to help you grow your note business. So thanks for joining us today and enjoy the rest of your week.